All right. So I do have a captain's question to start things off with. Not about food. So I
Oh,
want to
damn. I
know
guess I just click off right now.
what what are your what video games are catching your attention lately? It doesn't have to be your all-time favorite, blah blah blah. But what video games you playing? There've been a few new ones lately, and there's some out there. I'm just kind of curious because Jake mentioned video games last time.
Mm.
Um, so let's go with JBot.
Oh, goodness. I think I mentioned this in our pre-show warm-up that I could run my own podcast, I think, just yammering on about video games. I will try to keep this short unless you guys want me to wander on. I am historically and always have been and probably always will be a Fallout person. I've played literally every Fallout game in the franchise, from the really, really crappy ones on the old PCs. I don't mean the original ones and twos. I mean the Brotherhood of Steel and those sorts of things, all the way up through the new ones. Um, those are my current favorites. They've always been my favorites. They always will be. The only thing I'm kind of raging on at the moment is I have a PlayStation 4 and we don't have user mods on it.
Yeah.
Which bugs the crap out of me because I went away from PC for the ease and simplicity of a console, and I've been missing all of the really, really cool
Ah.
stuff in those games because of it. But currently, I actually, because of some of the issues with Fallout, and I just, I put 400 hours into the newer one, so I was like, I probably need a break. I went to two or three other games and wandered around, but just recently picked up the No Man's Sky, which I have a suspicion that a lot of people that are listening to this podcast are at least aware of in some way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Um,
It's even
it's an
been mentioned in
interesting,
the off-topic subforums. People,
yeah.
there's a thread for No Man's Sky.
Oh, yeah. It is a interesting game. I've heard a lot of people say it's polarizing. They either really love it or really hate it. Um, I picked it up knowing somebody was going to hate it. So I actually didn't buy it the first day. I went in 5 days later and got a used copy for $15 off, knowing somebody was going to hate it. And
Smart.
I was like, well, I say $15, and the girl behind the counter is like, wow, how did you know? And I was like, come on, it's obvious somebody's going to hate this game because they just followed the hype. I will say that I don't love or hate it. It's interesting. It's I keep going back to play it, but it's, as I joke with Jim, it's Minecraft in space, except for it's not so much craft; it's more just mine in space. but
Hmm.
but I'm actually enjoying it. I finally figured out how to um, actually dogfight in space, which is fun considering how what the little game that we all kind of know and love. I
Hmm.
figured out how to not feel like I'm trying to fight with a bus, which is what it felt like the first half a dozen times I got shot and blown up. But now I've started to kind of get my legs underneath me and wipe out six, seven, eight strong whatever they are,
Yeah,
raiders or pirate
I had a
groups.
hard time with the Shuttle Tydirium and getting that in combat
Yeah.
training, but once I added advanced sensors,
Hmm.
I did much better.
I don't want to go too much into the detail of the game, but I basically said, you know what? To heck with all this other crap, and just loaded every single thing I can into whatever the equivalent of the phaser beams are. I don't know what they're called in the game with the green beam, and just loaded everything into that in that game. And it's like, ooh, I got a lock on, and you're just like cutting ships in half. I'm like, yeah, I don't need to maneuver. I'll just sit here and hover in space, like a shuttle, basically, and just obliterate anything that goes across my view screen. And
That is too
that,
Beautiful.
funny.
yeah, that's been
I
working.
know
So
my
it's fun.
son my son actually was eager. He read about this game and he was eager to play it and try it out. And it's been a lot of articles and stuff written about it. It's kind of crazy in its concept, but he knew it was coming out at the beginning of the summer, and he had some money and he worked a bunch of extra chores and errands. He was scrubbing windows and doing all sorts of things around the house. We created tasks for him to kind of generate some extra money for him. And he got all the cash ready, and they delayed the game 2 months.
There were death
Yep.
threats over that delay. Just
Yeah.
so you know,
Yep.
death threats. That's how much hype there was. I saw something the other day about this was like second or third all time for like sales in the first few weeks or first few days. It was crazy. It was some ludicrous, or no, not sales. I'm sorry, concurrent players. It was some ludicrous number that you're like, wait a minute, this is second beneath Skyrim. How in the heck did this happen? Sort of thing. But um, I'm not sure we'll see the same numbers a month from now. Let's put it that way. It's
Yes,
very polar.
yes. There's a lot of hype and all, and I even read some reviews. 'Cause I was looking at it and said, don't even trust any review that comes out until like several weeks have been played because it'll take that long to really get into what the heck the game's about.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't know, it's a procedurally generated universe, galaxy, whatever. Planets are all algorithm math, however these guys did it, and they're humongous. I mean, I read an article. Some guy spent 25 hours on the first planet he landed on or started on, and basically maxed the entire character, game, etc. out before he left the first planet. Or you could say, you know, to heck with it. I got my ship fixed. I'm blasting off into space, and I'm naming, every planet and every, solar system or system after
Right.
whatever the
Like
heck I want to. Just
from what I
stupid names
understand,
and
sort of
that sort of
guy
thing.
shows up and says, "Go to the center of the universe. Things will happen at the center of the universe. Please do it." And he runs away. And you can either follow his direction or totally blow him off. And like that's kind of like the whole premise of the game from there. Is like from there you just kind of do whatever the hell you want,
Yeah.
or you can actually start going. And I know I read about some guy who declared he's just going to do everything he can to get to the center of the universe as fast as possible. And then boom, and weeks, and he's still not there. So
Oh yeah. It's really neat. You do a lot of stuff. You can tweak things, build your ships. There is some crafting. It's not as deep as Minecraft, um, but there is a lot of mining involved. The crafting isn't as deep as Minecraft has, but
Now, I have a question for you, John. Because I have been following this game for a while, reading up on it. I don't have it because I wanted to wait just like you did. And after I saw the reviews, I got disenchanted. But one of the things I had read, and you can let me know if this is true or not, is people were disappointed because they were saying it was going to be a big multiplayer experience, but potentially you could play the entire game and never see somebody based on A, how massive it is, but also B, is it even possible to see other players, or is that something that
it
doesn't exist?
now
it
there was a
is
big,
possible.
yeah, there was a
I
big, humongous hubbub like the first day. So essentially,
Mm-hmm.
it's a procedurally generated, algorithm based, blah 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 math,
Mm-hmm.
whatever thing that they essentially. The best way I could put it is roll a gigantic die, and that's what system you're going to start in, what relationship it is, the center of the galaxy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, it's possible, but realistically, through the numbers, they said it's realistically impossible that two people, because the game said 18 quintillion, I think, planets. It might have been systems. 18
yes.
quintillion. That's a lot of zeros for, because I don't even know how many. That's a lot of zeros.
Right.
And then let's say it's like one of the best-selling games of all time, and you've got 100 million people playing this thing at one shot. There's still like I don't know this, so math people yell at me later. There's still like another 20 zeros of
Right.
like empty space that even if each person found like 10 or 20 or 100 systems, like you still got another whatever it is 15 zeros worth of empty space that people are basically never going to touch. So
Interesting.
yeah, so realistically, no, you're not going to run into another person.
And
But what happened was within the first 24 hours, so when you load in, you essentially, the game goes, bloop, here's a planet for you. Within 24 hours, somebody else loaded in on somebody else's planet.
Mm-hmm.
So like I start today and I'm like, where did Phil's planet? What do you mean? What is this stupid name that somebody named this planet in the system? Why are all these animals been named already? And it was somebody else had already been there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that was that person's starting person point, but somebody else had already been there. So those two people were close enough that they contacted each other and tried to essentially connect, tried to find each other in the game, and they couldn't do it. There was created this
now
huge hubbub because one of them was at nighttime, one of them was at daytime on the same planet, supposedly same planet, looking at
Right.
the same figure, same creature, or whatever.
So
And
it
that's
might
where
have all
people
been
like,
a lie by the company, like, oh yeah, it's multiplayer, but then when it comes
yeah,
right down to it, it was just math and a
yeah.
fabricated multiplayer
And,
experience.
but
Well,
there's,
no, I've been reading for a while now as well, and they've been stressing for a while that while it is multiplayer, the chances of you actually finding somebody else is pretty
yeah,
slim.
it is realistically
And I get
numerically
that,
slim.
but
Yeah.
I'm sorry, John's story is, from what I understand, true. Like the two people actually found that they were on the same planet, looking at the same tree or whatever, and they still couldn't see each other. In other words, like there were two completely separate instances
Yeah,
of
Well,
that was
okay,
what people
I'm
were
not,
afraid of. Was
I've
that
I have
it's two
read that
instances?
that well, at least okay, and my son as well, that people were trying to meet up because like somebody had traveled and seen some things already named by such and such, and they contacted that person through like the Steam contact,
Right.
private message, and tried to meet up with them, but then they were like difference with time zones and such, and they weren't quite actually online at the same
Yeah,
time trying to
this
connect.
one they actually had streams
interesting.
of. They streamed them live on YouTube, so people were watching basically both people moving through, and they're like everything's the same except for one of them's at night and one of them's during the day, and that it raised this question of were they basically lying that you can't even if you tried your hardest to find each other because you'd think if we're all heading towards the center of the galaxy, eventually we're all basically heading towards a giant meeting point, right? So at some point in the distant future, if we're all heading towards roughly the same area, we're going to start overlapping each other a little bit.
That's actually
Um,
pretty cool.
yeah, but they somebody said, well, did they lie, or is the guys have hinted at a lot of kind of Easter eggs in the game? And somebody said, is it possible that there's actually essentially a dimensional shift? Like there's actually multiple dimensions involved in this as well. So like,
Interesting.
is it possible? Yes, they're on the same planet, but they're in different dimensions. Like, oh, he's a I hate to go into it too deep, but basically that's one of the ideas. But if you follow some of this stuff, the guy who created it isn't exactly the most trustworthy when it comes to spouting things about the game. So, like, essentially, a few days ago or a week ago, he said that DLC will basically be free and blah 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 blah. And like a couple days ago, he's like, well, you could never expect us to make this stuff for free and not charge you for it. So, he has a bit of a kind of a two-faced nature about the way he answers people.
Interesting.
So, I don't want any of that to affect whether or not you like the game. I am enjoying it enough to continue playing it. And I have kind of a rough rule for myself of if I get $1 per hour out of a video game, I consider it to be worth my money. And I don't have any doubt that I'll get $1 an hour out of this. Other games, it's why I don't play first-person shooters anymore. When you can blow through a game in 4 hours, it's like, So I play a lot of big open world games, a lot of RPGs and stuff because I get that time. And this, I don't think I'll have much of a problem with it. But if you're going in expecting a multiplayer or some great action adventure game, don't. That's not there. It's very much an isolationist survival sort of, oh crap, my radiation sensor's going off again. Like, oh crap, what do you mean there's a giant ice storm that's going to drop it to negative 90 degrees Celsius and I gotta run back to my ship like 3 miles away. Oh crap, that sort of thing. So if that doesn't really get your jollies, then I'd probably steer clear of it.
Right. Got it.
All right, now we have kind of gone off for a bit, but I think it was a big one.
I knew I'd do that. Sorry.
But I will say that actually, I think the creator has a running contest with himself and maybe people close to him that because the PS4 universe and the PC universe are actually separate, and who knows, maybe that was actually part of the thing that they were. Well, if they're separate, anyways, they're separate, and you can name them whatever you want. And he's kind of got a which side's gonna actually name the stupidest names for things like because
They
you
have
can
a pretty strong
create like
profanity
systems
filter.
and plateaus and creatures and plants, and you can then name it, whatever you want.
They have a pretty strong profanity filter because it hit me and I'm like, what are they talking about? Man, I must be out of touch if that's a curse word because I was basically trying to name some random animal. I'm like, I must be really out of touch. Maybe I should Google that. And then I'm like, maybe I won't Google that because I don't know if I want to know what that is. So,
Well, not so much profanity, but just like absurd, like
oh yeah, there's some absurd ones in there. I was trying to be very, very cool about mine. So if anybody happens across my little realm, they're like, oh man, this guy's really cool. Not that anyone would ever see awesomely named stuff, but let's move on.
All right. So we've chatted for a bit. I will jump to our chief engineer, Jake.
All right. Well, kind of like what we already said, I am a big video gamer. I could do a whole podcast probably talking about it, but I'll try and keep it, at an appropriate length. And I'll just mention
platform?
What platform. It's almost always the PC. Almost always the PC. The only time that I don't go to the PC is if I'm playing with my daughters, or my daughter, I should say, and we're doing Minecraft on like the Wii U or something like that, or Mario Kart, or
Yep.
one of those.
Oh, Mario Kart's still good. Yep.
Absolutely. But if I'm playing serious, if I'm playing like for keeps, there's a couple of really good games out there right now that I have been playing. One of them for the computer is called Battlefleet Gothic Armada. And if you haven't heard about this game, it's
Warhammer.
definitely worth
It's a
checking
40K
out.
game, really?
It's a Warhammer 40,000 game, and it's based on the old Battlefleet Gothic game that was a tabletop game, which is no longer running or getting updates.
But I heard it was popular from those that actually played, or those that played the actual game did enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah, it was fun. Nothing like firing torpedoes and then waiting 6 turns to see if they actually make contact. But it was a fun little game.
I mean, this game is a game that I even pulled Phil into. So we've actually been playing this a lot. And the company that made it is a very small company. It's called Tindalos Interactive, and you can tell they're small. Like, they're not a AAA developer. There are plenty of bugs, throughout the game. But what they've accomplished is this really beautiful game. The models and the details on each ship are stunning. You can zoom all the way in and see like these tiny little macro turrets and these giant bridges and everything. And the sound effects, the FX, everything is glorious, and it plays really fun too. And if you like space battles, and if you like X-Wing, honestly, it kind of reminds me of X-Wing in a sense. It's not turn-based though. This is actually like a real-time strategy game. With space combat. So if you're interested in Warhammer universe, if you're interested in space battles, then this game certainly is for you. And one of the really cool things is that they didn't realize how popular the game was going to be when they started, and then after they unleashed it, they saw how many people bought it and how many people loved it. So they added more factions. They added the Space Marines, and then they said, "Oh wow, people still like it. So you know what? We're going to add the Tau." So the Tau are actually coming this month. And then next month or the month after that, they're going to add the Tyranids, and they're really going to try and get every single playable faction into the Battlefleet game, which I'm super excited about.
That's pretty cool. I don't think the tower ever in it in the old style.
Well, Forge World created a Tau Battlefleet.
Oh, did they really? Oh,
they
wow.
did.
There's a Forge World Tau fleet, and there's like a old.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Tau fleet.
There's
So
the
it
old
looks kinda
style.
lame,
Yeah.
but
It was, I think, more limited, right?
I think so.
Or at least lamer looking. But
Definitely.
in any case, yeah, it's going to be the Forge World Tau fleet, which I'm super excited about. So that's what I've been playing relatively competitively. They have a 2 versus 2 option, so Phil and I go and we just stomp noobs all day long. Haha, that's a joke. We sometimes get beaten, but in any case, so that's a really fun one. Another fun one that I have been playing, but more not so competitively, just because it's a beautifully designed game, is something called Stellaris. This is a game that I got on Steam. It's a 4X multiplayer game, and it's one that actually Phil introduced me to. And I'm not good at 4X games. I like to manage 1 or 2 or 3 ships. I'm very bad when it comes to managing an entire galaxy worth of planets and populations and ships and everything like that. But the story and the way that they did it, and the events that you have to conquer, are just beautiful. And you get to create your own race, which is really the best part about the game, in my opinion, is being able to create your race, whether it's a mammal, a reptile, a plant, a fungus, an arthropod. You've got all these different styles that you can pick from, and you create them to whatever you want. So it's a really cool sandbox to create your character.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I say that I'm 45, so I started in the early days of PC gaming, and I am and also I've played board games, etc. I'm a turn-based gamer.
Mm-hmm.
And
oh, absolutely, yeah. The
pure
real-time stuff is just
blasphemy when
drags me.
what is it, the 90s, the late 90s, when all these real-time strategy games popped up. I freaking hate him.
Yeah, it was I think it was the late '90s when he started seeing, or mid '90s when he started seeing Warcraft, the original Warcraft,
Yeah,
and those sorts of
and
things.
like
Yep.
I played Sid Meier's Civilization, and then Microsoft has to come out with their own Civilization, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
real time strategy, and
love
like
the
you
old
just get all your hunter
civilizations.
gatherers doing your crap, and all of a sudden you don't even notice that half your village is burning because you've been too busy
Yeah,
micromanaging.
but
And like
well, I
I'm a
love the
micromanager. I like my turn based. I do not like real time strategy crap. It's
yeah. I'm
just
kind of on the
wrong.
same page with Jim with those. But as for PC gaming, I did it for so many years, and the thing that got me was it got too hard, I guess, to keep up with. Oh my god, I got to get a new a new video card. Oh, I got to get more XYZ and this, that, and the other to keep up with it. So I just like, you know what? It's another stress I can get rid of in my life, and I just went to consoles and stuff. I do miss it, and there's a lot of great games that you just never see on console. But
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, I
that's
think that's
unfortunate.
yeah. You're right. The updating of the PC that can be definitely a pain in the butt. Every new game, every new like cutting edge game requires the new cutting edge video card.
Yeah.
Um,
No. Usually
I
every
mean,
2 years.
sometimes.
Every 2 years, you just kind of need to upgrade or something where along that. But
mhm.
I was a long term PC gamer. And I like the keyboard commands. You've got like you can do so much more. Like in the PC version of like one of the games I played for forever was Battlefront or Battlefield. Excuse me. So Battlefield 1942, the first one, I played them all. And you can lay down, you can crouch, you can do all sorts of things. But like in a lot of the console versions, you can't even do that. You can't. You don't have the same range of commands, let alone the various voice activated commands to your squad and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Right. So yeah, I mean, this unfortunately you probably wouldn't like Stellaris very much because it's not turn-based. Although you can control the speed, like when you're playing single player, you can go slow, you can go ultra slow
Right.
to help. You can pause the game, so it's it doesn't give you as much heart palpitations. Um, but I definitely see where you're coming from because I sometimes do like the turn-based and not have to worry about the panic that sets in with a real-time strategy. But the final, there's just two other mentions I want to quickly make. I did mention the one last week, the app that I have on my phone, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. It's less than a year old, but this game has consumed my life. I play it every single day. I play this more than anything else, probably because it's so easy to pick up because it's on my phone. But being able to create your own Star Wars dream team is just, for me, phenomenal. You could have any character class that you want, or any characters, villains, heroes in the same team, and just battle your other opponents. So someone might have Han Solo and Greedo, versus Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine. It's just a cool matchup, however far-fetched it might be. And then finally, the last game is Star Citizen. Have any of you heard about Star Citizen?
Oh yeah,
I have. I just don't. I've heard the name. I haven't played it. Let's put it that way.
Gotcha. It's not out yet. It's still in its development phase, but
Oh, that would be why.
yep. But this game it's very cool. I funded it when it was back on Kickstarter, and this was years ago now, but they have this open development process. So, if you want in, you can buy like the cheapest version of the game and then just get in there and start seeing what they're doing. They're during development. So it's all like pre-alpha. But you can go in there, you can see what space stations they're making and fly their ships and everything. I've already sunk in like over $100 into this game because everything that they show is awesome. It's like real life, or not real life, I shouldn't say that. It's like Star Wars, a whole universe built, but it's authentic, it's new, and you can be in command of your own, Millennium Falcon. You could be a smuggler if you want, or you could be a bounty hunter. You could be your own Boba Fett and find the smugglers, and the whole universe seems open to you. Which usually I'm not into those kinds of games, but this game has definitely caught my interest. So, all right, so I've babbled a lot about video games. I'm ready to hand the torch to someone else.
all right. So we'll go to Phil.
I also play a pretty good amount of computer games. I'd say that the two games I've been playing recently that haven't already been talked about are War Thunder. So War Thunder is a free-to-play with in-game purchases, World War II,
Planes, tanks, all
planes,
sorts of stuff.
tanks. I think they're adding boats now,
Oh, so cool.
and it's a lot of fun. it's probably there's a few free-to-play style games like it out there. I think like
World of Tanks.
World of Tanks, and then
World of Warships.
World of Warships, certainly. I think World of Airplanes or something like that. And War Thunder is distinct from those mainly for attention to or like valuing realism in the game.
So it's like War, but it really adds thunder.
I mean, it has 3 modes for planes and tanks. So it has an arcade mode where the physics are unrealistic, and you can drive a heavy tank up a hill like quickly, and you can like power slide it and stuff like that.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. It has realistic battles, which is normally where I am, which is sort of between real life physics and the arcade physics, and it's just a little easier than playing full simulator mode, which is sort of the highest level of realism that they can accomplish. So if you're flying a plane, then your view from the plane is just from inside the cockpit.
Oh, that's tough.
And there's no indicators, no graphical aids. I think you have to look at the instrument panel of the plane to see what your speed is and your altitude.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
That sounds really tough.
I mean, it's not for the
weak-hearted.
Yeah,
faint of heart. Yeah.
You have to, and taking off and landing is not easy in those modes.
I think you
So
meant.
is it
I think
harder?
you meant crashing and burning.
Yeah.
Is it harder or easier than landing on the carrier in the old Top Gun NES game? Because I always had to have my brother come into the room and land the stupid plane for me.
I don't know. I never played it, but
You never played that? Oh, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's like I always heard Microsoft Flight Simulator was still around because Bill Gates liked it. Like that's the reason it still existed for so long. But yeah, it was just one of those flight simulators where you just died on trying to even take off. That
yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard enough landing a plane in realistic battles. I think I mess up 1 out of 10 of my landings, and I've been playing for a while. But I usually stick to tanks. I'm a pretty good tank driver these days.
Nice.
Well, all right, I can probably go and wrap up the Captain's question because it's been a bit. I am actually an old-time PC-type gamer. I played back on my Texas Instruments, personal computer. I had a friend who had an Apple, when it first came out, Apple Junior, and I did get a PC Junior when it first came out for at home, and I played King's Quest and all those games, and the one with a little parachute and a turret. But I played at PC games for years and years and years. But I will say that recently I bought an Xbox One for the first time because I got sick of upgrading things eventually, and it was a bit tedious. But I will say even since then, a very generous friend has actually donated a lot of his old parts, and I was able to cobble together a year past state-of-the-art PC with just buying a case.
Are you talking about JBot 1.0?
No.
Oh, I've already been worked on enough.
No, so
I'm not
actually,
talking about you. I'm talking about 1.0.
So I do have actually a PC that is actually not too far off, state of the art these days. Solid state drive, a decent video card, etc., and an Xbox One. So I'm kind of caught between. I've been playing Star Wars Battlefront on Xbox and enjoying it. In fact, the guys over at the JodoCast are trying to do a Star Wars Battlefront segment where they record, 15 people or so chatting about X-Wing and Star Wars Battlefront while they play Star Wars Battlefront. And I signed up for it because I think it's pretty cool. And I'm into that. So
Genius.
So I do like it. I played Star Wars. I played Battlefield lots of games. And when Star Wars Battlefront came out, it was a complete rip-off of Battlefield, and it sucked because whichever side had jetpacks, There's always one side. They won all the time. The end. And it sucked. So you're playing online with people. Whichever side has jetpacks, they win. You lost. It was a really crappy version of Battlefront, and I always hated Star Wars Battlefield games. And I know that there are people who love it and love it and love it, and the latest version is not what it was. And I don't care because I played those, and maybe if you played against the AI or something, it was worth it. But otherwise, the game sucked. And I like the new version of Star Wars Battlefront, and people, a lot of people don't agree with me, but I don't care.
Now, you're saying that the new one, Star Wars Battlefront, for the Xbox, that's the one that you like, but you don't like the one that came out before?
Right, because like 1 and 2 came out, and there's a new one just called Star Wars Battlefront because they finally gave the license to the same company that makes that makes Battlefield games.
Correct.
EA.
Okay.
Well, people can hate EA, but I like the Battlefield games. I've been very happy for years. I think I've been playing that game longer than I've been married, which is saying something. So, I'm happy with it, and I don't miss all the stuff that was in 2 or whatever. So it's not an issue to me. But I've been playing that on Xbox. I do like that. But even just late, and other games, so Battlefield I like on PC, and I don't ever want to play that on Xbox because it won't be as good because you can't do all the cool stuff you can do as the PC game. But I even just pulled out the past 2 days Blood Bowl, the old Games Workshop game. Blood Bowl, Dungeon Bowl, I think is the last one I got, and I just whipped up a human team. I usually do orcs and goblins, but whipped up a human team, and I've been building that and going through, and I've actually quite enjoyed. I love Blood Bowl. It's a lot of fun.
That's cool. I've
Yeah,
never played Blood Bowl.
Yeah, it's a good game. We had leagues back in the board game, the actual original board game. We had leagues of back in when I was growing up back in my old days, but we had to stop the leagues when there was almost a fist fight at the tournament championship one night. It's a game that can get heated, but yes, believe it or not, there was almost a fist fight over the finals, and that basically put an end to our Blood Bowl, games at our local board game store.
I think we were the semifinals, and I was beating this dwarf team. I was playing orcs and goblins, and I was playing dwarfs. I was beating an orc and goblin team really bad, and I was late to see Gwar, the heavy metal band, live.
Oh, God forbid, missed that.
And I'd always heard of Gwar shows, and it was a band who, just to be very quick, they were a bunch of theater technicians, like special effects and stuff for theater, who made a heavy metal band that was all about crappy, catchy songs that they could dismember people and squirt blood at the audience, and you never wore anything that you would want to ever wear again, and you had fake blood and other stuff like under your fingernails for a week, and it was they had songs like Vlad the Impaler, Vlad the Impaler, Vlad could have been a whaler, but it's
yes,
just they were stupid, and I was late, and I didn't do things like stand up my people that were knocked down because I was like, I just need it, and I kept like rolling crappy for like pick up the ball. All you do is pick up the ball and run, like I won the game, and I couldn't do it, and I didn't stand up my guys because I was in a hurry, and I rolled shitty for those crucial rolls with the re-rolls and everything, and I ended up losing the game, and so that was very pissy, but I'd rather see Gwar than have won that.
Oh, Gwar. Alrighty then.
Exactly. All right. So, and besides that, so I've been playing Blood Bowl,
Cool.
and that's pretty cool. Just lately, very much lately, campaign-wise.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to help us continue improving and expanding our channel's content.